There is a conspiracy currently taking place, and I challenge you after watching this video to give me any other logical explanation or reason why everything that's happened has happened and it not be a conspiracy. Now, within the last 8 weeks, just the last 8 weeks, we've had the introduction of the Online Safety Act in the UK, followed by Australia, followed by Canada. Then alongside this, we've then had a group called Collective Shout contact Visa and MasterCard, basically saying that the games on Steam are inappropriate and asking them to pull games. Now, thousands of games were removed from the platform, and in the process, Visa and MasterCard have been tackled by Collective Shout for being the payment processors for many different other websites. Visa and MasterCard have been scared by this, and they've pulled their payment gateways for literally thousands of websites. Now, when it comes to the Online Safety Act, there's a few key things to know. Ofcom, the company that regulates the entire industry when it comes to the Online Safety Act, well, their founder was a guy called William Perrin. Now, William Perrin left Ofcom and he went to go and join a business called Carnegie UK. Now, Carnegie UK is a trust fund. If you don't know who Andrew Carnegie is, you can do your own separate research on that. But essentially, it's a trust fund that manages billions of dollars worth of investment, and some of the companies and technology they've invested into are things such as biometric verification companies. Now, as they're a private trust, we can't see what companies they are, but we know that they've invested in the technology. It's very likely that it's to be with one of the top 5 biometric companies in the UK. Okay, but what does Carnegie UK have to do with any of this? Why is that relevant? Well, the Online Safety Act was written by William Perrin, formerly Ofcom, moved to Carnegie UK, wrote the Online Safety Act. 3 months before it was voted on in government, Carnegie UK distanced themselves from it and handed it over to a third-party agency, so there's no direct tie to it. Now, Carnegie UK, allegedly, I have to say that, are set to profit from the Online Safety Act. Now, in a previous video, I stated that if the government found that there was a conflict of interest where a company was set to gain by writing or introducing a legislation, or a member of parliament was set to directly gain, then by default, the law has to be struck off, rewritten, and reapproved for the parliamentary process. This is relatively normal stuff. However, because Carnegie UK dropped out just a couple of months before it got passed through Parliament, technically speaking, it doesn't matter. This law does not have to be overturned because of that. Now, I saw this tweet come up on Twitter, and to be honest, I think that all the Epstein list stuff, I'm not really well versed on how that would tie into this whole scenario, but everything else on the list is factually correct. All of this, everything you're seeing there has come about in a full wave within an 8-week period. From one of my recent videos, I actually had an MP reach out to me. I am currently in the process of trying to get an interview sorted and try to get things in motion so we can actually discuss these things on the channel. And what they told me genuinely absolutely blew me away. But the Online Safety Act is actually 2 individual acts. Well, it's 1 act, but in 2 stages. The first act was passed in 2023, but it didn't include age verification for websites or any of the stuff that we're seeing happening today. It did, however, include a little section in there about studying the feasibility of age verification on certain websites. And of course, the study of feasibility is things that people weren't really too bothered about. I mean, look into it, see how it could be implemented. It's not that harmful. Now, in February of this year, they presented some amendments that they'd like to make to the bill, and this was voted on in Parliament. Now, these amendments consisted of things like making corporations more accountable for people accessing inappropriate content on their website, and also holding corporations accountable for the content that's on their websites, which once again, perfectly fair. Then after this act was passed, it was then amended in May this year to include the caveats around that with things, for example, like biometric face scans, collecting people's ID and other things like that. So essentially, the Online Safety Act that's in place as we speak, this very moment, was not the thing that was voted on in Parliament. Now, before I blow the lid off absolutely everything else, just a very quick thank you to Private Internet Access. If you're looking for a VPN that has a no logging policy, is open source, and a VPN that you definitely should not be using to get around the Online Safety Act, make sure to check out Private Internet Access at the link down below, or use the QR on the screen up here. You get yourself 86% off, 4 months free, and you majorly support the channel in a big way. So thank you. Now, when it comes to censorship, on the channel before, we've spoke about how basically news is getting filtered out. So like I've showed you guys the screenshots of what appears when you're logged into Google or using Google from like a device that you've used Google from before versus what you see on a brand new account. Essentially, new people accessing the internet now will see different things in their Google search results. Now, this is a very simplified version of censorship. And to be clear, I have seen the comments. I've seen a significant amount of people saying that it's not censorship, just withholding the information. Well, if we just use the Oxford Dictionary's example of this, it is 100% censorship. Now, some content on YouTube is naturally restricted, and that's just because bad thumbnail, bad title, whatever it might be. Yesterday, I produced a video with a banger thumbnail, and I know it was good because the click-through rate was insane. It was actually the highest click-through rate of any video I've ever put on the channel. Yet that video, at the moment as of recording this video, is sat on 9,000 views. Now on YouTube, to get into the algorithm, bear with me by the way, this is all relevant. On YouTube, to get into the algorithm, you need to have a good click-through rate to get the views, and also you need a good watch time. So basically, if people are watching for like 70% of the video, YouTube knows that people are enjoying the content. So YouTube uses the data of the people that click the video to find more people that are similar in terms of like the other stuff they watch, and they pair that with algorithmic placement, so they show it in the feeds of the various people. Now, with that video being the highest click-through rate I've ever got on this channel, and with that video having some of the highest retention percentages of any video on my channel, that video should have been an algorithm banger, but it wasn't. In fact, YouTube, rather than censoring the video, they started showing that video to completely the wrong audiences. You'll see at first, the click-through rate went insanely high, and then it just took a monumental dive because YouTube started showing it to random audiences in Pakistan, in India, and basically trying to mess up the analytics so that video would, on paper, have normal, healthy reach, but really bad engagement. Now, you may be wondering, like, is this some sort of conspiracy theory? What's my qualifications? Well, I've been a YouTube editor for almost a decade now. To protect my privacy, I'm not going to say who I edited for, but to the very few people watching that might know who I am or might have heard my voice before, the channels I've edited for have in total between, well, all four of them, they have about 28 million subscribers. I've dedicated the majority of my adult life to understanding how YouTube's algorithms work. Yes, I'm a nerd. Bully me in the comments. So why is YouTube relevant in all of this? Well, YouTube have introduced their own online verification system, which was initially supposed to be just for the UK, but for some miraculous reason, for some reason that they can't explain, for some reason that we don't understand, they are now going to be rolling this out in multiple countries. Now, they haven't formally announced this yet. However, I found out through my management network that a mandate has been sent down to various networks working at YouTube about age verification coming to all countries. This includes for creators that are not even based in the UK. So age verification is coming to all of these platforms, and we're hearing about this all in the same 8-week period as everything else on this list. And on top of that, to add insult to injury, we have the whole Roblox scandal. For any of my audience that aren't a gaming audience, it's essentially a platform game which is heavily dominated with children players and now heavily dominated with predators because of the aforementioned children demographic. Now, there's been a lot of scandals taking place, and the biggest one is essentially the reporting system on Roblox isn't working. Now, people are now taking matters into their own hands and basically seeking out predators on these platforms and actually successfully getting them put behind bars. And by the way, just to be clear, some of these people are now sat in prison, but they still have their Roblox account activated because although the law has deemed them a criminal, Roblox are like, nah, they've done nothing wrong, mate. Well, Roblox's Vice President of Civility and Partnerships works with online safety organizations, and Chibi Reviews actually did a full video about this. There's basically a whole like PR thing about her working in relation to the Online Safety Act, external online safety regulators, and part of this obviously big movement with the Online Safety Act is Roblox's involvement with them. Also, it's worth noting that Ofcom did a feasibility study with Roblox, and they basically said that Roblox would need to introduce age verification. Now, this feasibility study, by the way, was carried out by Mr. William Perrin, and that's just before he wrote the Online Safety Act, which is the legislation which will require all of these companies to pay third-party providers to do age verification on us. Look, I need to say this at the end of the video. I don't buy into many conspiracy theories on the internet. I am someone that thinks that everything has a logical thing that makes sense. There's a path to reason for most things that happen, and whilst conspiracy theories for the most part are really interesting, a lot of them fall apart at the seams under scrutiny. I see so many conspiracy theories all over social media. Even today, for example, there was one going around Twitter that this is a real UFO. It's not. It's an AI generated image. And there's people that lap it up and eat it up and go too far with it. There is a vast difference between a conspiracy theory about UFOs being in your back garden to actual stuff that's clearly happening. This isn't stuff that we've had to seek out and find. The guy that set up Ofcom wrote the Online Safety Act whilst working for an investment hedge fund. Can we not see that that is a monumental conflict of interest? We are only 8 weeks into this, probably less actually, we're probably more realistically, what, 7 weeks into this? We haven't even scratched the surface of how deep this really goes, and I don't want to go into the rabbit hole of like having to get pervasive in the way that we try and find out this information. If we can find out all of this just from using Google effectively, imagine what's actually going on behind the scenes. Now, I need to say this with a pinch of salt and a bit of a caveat. I've had people reach out to me claiming to be insiders on the topic. I am currently going through the process of verifying them. If I think that those insiders and whistleblowers bear fruit, we will conduct interviews on the channel. But for the time being, I'm playing it very, very careful because this isn't taking on a little company. This is taking on governments. And that doesn't have a history of going very well. Anyway, I needed to talk about all of this because it's building up and building up. There's so much happening in the online safety censorship space at the moment that's all happening at once. It's to the point where if you actually want to become educated on what's happening with the Roblox situation or what's happening with the Online Safety Act, like the amount of content that you'd have to consume on a daily basis to actually fully understand what's going on is impossible. And that, for all intents and purposes, is by design. Make sure you check out private internet access at the link below. It greatly supports the channel and you get 86% off and 4 months free. Check them out or scan the QR code, and thank you so much for watching the channel. I appreciate all of you. And one more little thing. This channel has grown so fast. In the past 3 weeks alone, we've gained nearly 40,000 subscribers. Thank you so much. So much. I will do a proper thank you video, but for now, I do appreciate it. I really do. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.